training this afternoon. Before we get started, can you see my screen? You should see where it says client code, username, and password. Yes. Excellent. So this is what the login screen looks like. In order to log into your account, you'll need to fill out the 3 fields on the screen for your client code, which will be assigned to you when your account is created. You'll also need to fill in your username and your password. If I go too fast, please let me know. Also located on this screen, you'll see this link that says can't access your account. This is the account recovery feature. Any user who has an email address and a security question stored within their profile can recover their access credentials through that link. When you log in, you will be brought to your dashboard. And on your dashboard, you're going to see a couple things. You'll see any announcements that we need to make for our clients. You'll also see our customer support email address and our phone number. We do have our free customer support available 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday in Eastern Time. And then also on your dashboard, you're going to see the last 5 times you logged in with the IP address you logged in from. On the left side of your screen are the user application modules. And on the top right corner of your screen are a few additional links. The dashboard link is where you'll need to go. This will bring you back to the dashboard no matter what screen you're on. Profile is where you'll need to go to change your password every 90 days for security purposes. So when that time comes, you'll just open up your profile. You'll need to then go to your security tab and you can enter in your current password and then your new password. And then you'll need to ensure that you click the change password button along with OK. The menu button minimizes the user application modules on the left. And then we also have our help button, which is screen specific, and I will talk about that in more detail in a little bit. Let's go ahead and we'll start with our administration tab, under which here we can see users, user groups, merchants, locations, terminals, and products. Let's go ahead and start with merchants. This would show you any merchants that are on your account. If you want to view any more information about that, you'll just hover over what we call the Actions radial button, and you'll choose Properties. This will show you your merchant name and your tax ID. The Address tab shows you the address that's on file for that merchant. And the Contacts tab would show you who your contact is for the account. If we move down to our locations, this would show you all the locations on your account. Again, you can hover over the Actions radial button and choose Properties to view some information. So this will show you the location information along with your DBA and your receipt from email. The email address that's on display in this field is the email address that will be used to send out receipts to your customers after your transaction. And then again, the Address tab will show you the address that we have on file for the location, and then the Contacts tab again shows you the contact for that location. Coming down to terminals, you can view your merchant account information by going to the Actions radial and hovering over that and choose Credit Card Processors. And then you'll hover over the new Actions radial button and choose Properties. And this will show you your processor information. So we see our processor here. You'll see the cards that you are able to accept for payment. You'll see your settlement times, and that is when your transactions will be sent out for settlement every evening. And then at the bottom, you'll see your merchant information. This shows you your merchant number and any additional information regarding your American Express number, your Discover number, or your terminal number. Let's go ahead, and now we're going to jump up to user groups. A user group on your account is an easy way for an account administrator to manage permissions across multiple users. The accounts initially come with 2 user groups, the first of which is the administrator user group. That's for the users who need the ability to manage or edit the other users on the account. And then the other user group we have is the transaction processing user group. That's pretty self-explanatory as well. That's for the users who will be processing transactions. An administrator on the account, again, has the ability to manage the permissions of the other account users. That can be done by hovering over the Actions radial button of that user group and then going to their properties. Once you've pulled up the properties of a user group, this is going to show you the user group name along with a description if you fill one out. The user tab shows you a list of all of the users that are currently in that user group on the left. And then on the right, you have a list of users who are available to be in that group. You can switch users around by removing a user by clicking the Remove button. And that would move the user to the available list. And then you can add a user to the group by clicking the Add button, not move the username back. The Permissions tab is where you can go to view or edit the permissions that are given to a user group. Please bear in mind that all of the permissions that are given to a user group will automatically be applied to any user that's in the group, and that goes for any edits that are made to the permissions as well. I want you guys to pay attention to a couple permissions here that we don't have. One of those permissions is the ability to view the stored credit card number. Without that permission, users can only see the last 4 numbers of a stored card that's on the account. Another permission that we don't give by default is the ability to process a credit transaction. We do not give those permissions to any user by default. We do not give those as an added layer of security, so that way an account administrator can decide if they want an individual user or an entire user group or no one to have the ability to process a credit transaction or to view the full card number. Let's jump up now to users. This will show you the users that are on your account. This will also show you if they are active or locked. Locked means that the user attempted to access the account unsuccessfully 5 or more times. And after that point, they are locked out for a period of 30 minutes. If a locked user does not want to wait 30 minutes to try to log back in, they can contact an account administrator to unlock them. To add a new user to the account, you'll just click the Add button. This opens up a box where you can enter in the prudent user information. You can see the fields that are required. They're marked with an asterisk. So to create a new user, you'll need to fill out a username. We recommend, for security purposes, that a username be some kind of a combination of a first initial with a last name. You'll also need to fill out the first name and the last name fields. We can see here also that our email field is not required due to a lack of an asterisk. However, if you enter in an email address here, this would be the email address that gets associated with that account recovery feature on the login screen. The next section down is where you can assign a user to a user group. Excuse me. Doing so will apply all of the permissions from that user group onto the username. You will also need to create a password for the new user, and they will be required to change that password the first time they log in. The next section we have is the user application modules. We do recommend that each user receives all 4 of these. The EC Navigator will allow visibility into the news and information section along with the dashboard. Administration will allow the user to see into the administration tab. Please keep in mind that visibility into the administration tab does not make a user an administrator on the account. So any user, like our theoretical new user that's in the transaction processing group, that has visibility into the administration tab would only be able to see merchants, locations, terminals, and products. Reports will allow visibility into the report section, and EC Zone allows visibility into EC Zone. If you would like to give this particular user any special permissions that are not given in the user group, then you can go to your permissions tab and check whatever permission is appropriate. We also can see here we have group permissions given because we did place this user into a user group. You can see the group permissions because they are located with a blue dot and they are located under the group permissions. Did you have any questions before we jump down to the product section? Okay, I don't hear any questions, so let's go ahead and you move forward.
Sorry, I actually do have a question.
Okay.
Do I have an unlimited amount of users with my account?
Initially, accounts will come with 5 available users. If you would like to add any more, we would just need to receive a request from the managerial contact to add extra users, and user spaces do come in sets of 5. So if you wanted to add 3 user spaces, then we would end up adding 5. That was a very good question. Do you have any others?
Yes. Do I give all my users the administration tab if they're not going to be an administrator?
We do recommend that all users do receive all 4 user application modules. Because without that, if, for example, you have a user that needs to know what your merchant ID number is, which is located in the terminal section, if they don't have the visibility into the administration tab, then they won't be able to research your merchant ID number.
Okay, perfect.
Do you have any other questions?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Let's go ahead and move down to our product section. Your product section will coincide with your line item detail. That will make a little more sense once we get to the transaction screen. The line item detail is what's going to make your transaction a level 3. But what we're going to do here is I'm going to show you how to store a product ahead of time so you save yourself time when you're processing a transaction. So when you come to the product section, this is going to show you all of the stored products that are on your account. To add a new product, so just click the Add button, and then you'll fill out the required fields. So to store a product, you'll need your product code, description, and amount. You will also need a unit of measure code along with a commodity code. For the unit of measure code, most people just use each, and you can type into that description field, and you'll see that it is a type ahead feature, so it brings down a list of values that match what you typed in. For the commodity code, that is required to be at least 4 digits long. However, it cannot begin with 0. If you don't know what your commodity code is, that's perfectly all right. All you need to do is click your select button, and that's going to show you a list of commodity codes to choose from. You can be as vague or specific with these as you would like. If you want to be as vague as possible, then you can just select the one that matches your industry the best. If you want to be more specific, you can find the category you want to use, and you can go to the next level. Every time you go to the next level, your options are going to be more and more specific. I'm going to go ahead and pull up one of my products that I have stored on my account. I like to store this product as generically as possible, so I can essentially use this product as a template when it comes to transaction processing. So with that in mind, I like to leave my product code as an invoice number. I leave my description as monthly services and my amount as 0. So when I pull this up on my transaction, I just need to worry about filling out my number sign and changing my amount from 0 to the actual amount. Did you have any questions on the product section?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Let's go ahead and jump down to customer accounts, under which you're going to see customers and stored credit cards. Let's go ahead and start with customers. And this would show you all of the customers that are stored on your account. If you have a lot of customers and you're looking for a specific customer, you can open up your filter criteria and search for a customer in any one of these ways. I do want to point out one of these customers as the default customer that will be on the account, or it should be on the account. That is because Payment WorkSuite was built in such a way that anytime you're storing a card on your account, it must be stored with a customer. So the default customer will be the automatic place that your cards go unless you designate another place. To add a new customer to your account, you can just click the Add button, and you'll need to fill out the required fields. So you'll need to fill in the client customer name and customer code. If you don't have a specific customer code, then you can repeat your customer name. The address tab is not required, but if you would like to fill that out, you absolutely can. If you do fill out the address on your customer level, then that would pre-populate for you when you're storing cards with this customer. And then the Contacts tab is also optional if you want to fill that out for your customer. If you hover over the actions radial of a customer, you have a couple options. Selecting properties would allow you to edit the information you stored with your customer. You can also copy your customer or delete your customer, but you do want to be very, very careful when you're deleting a customer, because if you delete a customer, it's going to delete all of the cards you've stored with that customer. So you want to be really careful when you're doing so. And then finally, to view the cards that are assigned to your customer, you can hover over that Actions Radial button for the customer and choose Credit Cards, which will bring us forward into the Customer Account section, also within the Stored Credit Cards. This would show you all of the cards that are stored within your customer. If you look in your customer selection at the top of your screen, you're going to have a list of customers. The customer name that's on display is the customers whose cards are on display. If you would like to switch to view a different customer, then you can click the customer dropdown and choose a different customer to view. To add a new card to this customer, you can click your Add button. And then you'll need to fill out all of the required information. So you'll need the name on card and the card number. When you fill out the card number, the brand will fill out automatically for you. And then you'll need to fill out your expiration date. The billing information tab is where you can enter in the address information for this card. Here we also have an option to add an email address to automatically receive the transaction receipts. Also, if we look here at our billing address, we can see this did fill out for us. And that's because I have the address stored on my customer level. The Receipts tab is where you can enter in up to 20 additional email addresses to receive a copy of the transaction receipts for this card. And finally, the Designation tab is where you can assign what's called a friendly name to the card. The friendly name is an internal designation for you guys. It's just an extra way for you to search for a stored card. If you hover over the Actions Radial button of a card, selecting properties would allow you to edit the information that you stored within the card. You can delete a card or copy a card. You also have the option to move this card to a different customer if you've accidentally stored it with the wrong one. So to move this card to another customer, you'll just click Move. That opens up a box for you that shows you all of your customers. And to move this card to a correct customer, you'll just click Select in the customer list, and that would move that card for you. Did you have any questions on the customer account section?
If my customer calls and says that they have a new card number, can I update the credit card number?
You cannot do that, but what you can do is you can copy the card and then enter in, that would copy the name, the expiration date, all of the billing information, but it would leave the card number blank so you can enter in the new card number without having to fill out all of the information associated with the card.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome. That was also a good question. Did you have any others?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. So now we're going to move forward to EC Zone. And what we're going to do here is we're going to create a transaction template, and then we're going to run a transaction from the template. So we start with our Create Template section, which is going to bring us, obviously, to the template screen, which is broken down into several small sections that do coincide with sections that match your transaction screen. The first section we're going to work on is our template information. This is where you would name your template. You also have the option to share this template with other account users if you have a permission to share the template. Do you remember how I was mentioning earlier on about permissions? There is a permission to share templates if you are given that permission. Any template that would be shared would be visible to all transaction processing users on the account. If you don't want to share the template, then it's only visible to you. The next section down is the Search Stored Card. That's where you can search through any stored cards that are on the account to save with your template. To search through your stored cards, you can do so in a couple different ways. one of which is you can click the Search Stored Cards button. That opens up a box for you, and it's going to show you all of your stored cards across all of your customers, and then you can just click Select to use your card. Another way to search through your stored cards is by typing into your friendly name or the name on card field, both of which are type ahead features, so they'll bring down a list of names for you to choose from. Next, we'll come down to our transaction type section, and this is where you'll select the type of transaction you want your template to be. The first type is authorize and capture. That is our default transaction type. That means you want to authorize the transaction and verify if the funds are available, and then capture those funds right away. Authorize only is if you want to verify if the funds are available and just simply authorize the transaction. That's going to remove the funds from the card and hold those funds until another transaction processing user comes in to capture those funds at a later time. Force is if you need to force a transaction through, and on your transaction screen, you will be required to enter in an authorization number. And then finally, the card account verification is if you would just like to verify that the card is a real and actual card. For our template, we're going to go ahead and keep this as authorize and capture since that is the default transaction type. If we come down to the next two sections, we have our credit card information section along with the cardholder information section. These did fill out for us because we have this information stored within the card. Also, I want to point out under the cardholder information section is where your address information goes, and I'll talk about that a little bit more on the actual transaction screen. Moving on, we have our line item detail, and this is where you would enter in your product information. So we can see here to fill out your line item detail, you need to fill out your product code, description, quantity, amount, extended amount, UOM, and commodity code. Those do coincide with the fields that we had to fill out to store a product. So as I mentioned, if you store a product before your transaction, you can really save yourself a lot of time on your transaction screen. To add in one of your stored products to your template or a transaction, all you need to do is click Select My Items. That's going to bring up a list of all of your stored products, and you can choose the one you want to use by clicking Select. Another way to fill in your line item detail from a stored product is by typing in your product code field, which is another type ahead feature, and then you can choose the product you want to use, and then that will fill out your full line item detail for you. In our case, we are creating a template, so I'm not going to worry about changing my number sign or my amount yet. When we're running our transaction, I'll actually make those appropriate values. You do need to add your line item detail, however, to your transaction after you filled it out. You can do that by hovering over the Actions radial button and choosing Add, and then that will gray out for you. You are required with each transaction that you submit to provide at least one line item detail per transaction. However, if you wanted to add more line item details, you absolutely can. To add another line item to your template or to a transaction, you'll just click Add Line Item, and then you would repeat that process. Coming down to our template tracking information, this is where you can enter in some tracking information. The first field we have is the customer reference value, and we do recommend that you fill that out with each transaction because it is a level 3 requirement. If you don't have a specific customer reference value, then you could put in a value that would be specific to your customer, like a purchase order number. We do also recommend that you fill out your order number, invoice number, and invoice date. We can see here that these are grayed out in our template. However, on an actual transaction, you can fill those out. The next 3 fields are the user-defined fields. Those are for internal purposes only, and they are trackable to your company. They will show up in the details of your transaction, but are not visible to your customer. Next, you can set a shipping company to store with your template. When you select your shipping company, you cannot enter in a tracking number for a template, but you can enter that in on the transaction. The notes section is where you can pass along any additional information to your customer. And this will show up on the bottom of the receipt. that gets sent to your customer. Finally, we have our transaction total section, and that's where you can enter in your sales and your freight tax. These can be entered in as a dollar amount or a percent, and that would store with your template. And once you've finished filling out your template, in our case, you'll just click your Create Template button, and then you'll get your confirmation text below that says Template Saved. You may update it now or create a new template. What we're going to do now, if you don't have any questions, actually, let's go ahead and pause for questions. Do you have any questions?
I don't think so yet.